And welcome to this week's episode of the Combat Chatters podcast. And this week we're going to be talking about the previous week's fight night between Rob Font and Corey Sandhagen. Interesting card, a lot of grappling, a lot more than anticipated. We're also going to be going over some news as well and a bit about the contender as well as the upcoming UFC fight night this weekend. So it should be a really good one.
Yeah, it was a decent week for MMA. Just news in general. There's been quite a few fights announced. Obviously, we had the Jake Paul, Nate Diaz box. Well, you could say fight boxing match. Jake Paul getting the win on decision. Got clowned a bit by Nate Diaz. I didn't watch the whole fight. It was on very late here, but right now I've seen some viral clips of Nate Diaz getting him in a guillotine during the clinch, and obviously went all 10 rounds, which a lot of people didn't expect. But I think obviously we could both know about Nate Diaz's toughness. Are you surprised he managed to go the distance? Did you think he was going to get finished?
I'm not surprised at all. I think with Jake, there's no denying that he's powerful, he's athletic, he's a top boxer.
Mm. Well,
He's
maybe not top boxer.
well, not in the
For his
not the
level,
grad
he
scene,
is.
but for what he's doing at the moment,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
he
very
is.
high level boxer,
Yeah.
and you can't dispute that. It's a shame he's not fought many more experienced fighters in boxing. Obviously,
Mm.
he's fought a lot of his MMA fighters
Yeah.
who he's done very well against, and I think that Nate Diaz, in all fairness, is probably one of the better opponents he could potentially
Mm.
fight, especially when it comes to the feet. But looking at the fight overall, it's interesting really because I mean Nate Diaz is he's a tough opponent and I'm not surprised at all really.
No. Obviously, I think Jake was clearly landing the more powerful shots, and Nate didn't have much. Obviously, his punching and his boxing can use in 4 ounce can work, sorry, in 4 ounce gloves. But when you got those big boxing gloves on, Jake Paul naturally a much bigger guy as well. I don't think there was much chance of Nate winning by anything other than a decision, which in the end he lost probably 9 out of the 10 rounds, so he didn't do. But anyway, enough about that. We don't want to talk about Jake Paul beating more MMA legends because we're both getting sick of it. But there's been a few more announcements. Ian Gary's got a new fight with Neil Magny after GF Neil pulled out, so that will be a great matchup when we break that one down. Conor McGregor going back and forth with Justin Gaethje, we've got that to talk about. But let's get stuck into last week's card. We're not going to talk about the whole card. There was a few good fights. We're just gonna blast through, I'd say, like the last three. Break down the Dustin Jacoby fight. He had a great performance. Obviously, getting the first round knockout. He's a very experienced striker coming from that kickboxing glory background, and yeah, he put it on him early. Got the early finish, and I was very impressed with his performance. What did you think about Dustin Jacoby?
I mean overall it's a very good performance. We always look at Jacoby, he's very good on the feet, and he's a very tough opponent as well. I think Kennedy his surname
I think it's in Shukwu, Kennedy in Shukwu.
it's a surname, so, but yeah, no, looking at Dustin. He looked very impressive on the feet. I thought Kennedy did too, to be fair. It was that big shot which
Yeah.
dropped him, which is a shame really because I thought that it looked quite contentious.
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy is a very dangerous opponent, and that fight could have went either way, but he got caught first.
And it's one of those things that when it happens so quick, it's very hard to necessarily. You look at Dustin, for example, they were both doing very well on the feet. It's so evident how dangerous he is on the feet. I would
Mm.
like to see it go a bit longer,
Yeah.
but I'm not surprised about the results at all. Really, he's so strong on the feet. Every fight he has, he looks very good.
Mm.
And that kickboxing, just his striking so clean.
I mean, he fought Alex Pereira in Glory, which just shows what level he was at. Obviously, he did get finished very quickly in that fight, but still to be up there in Glory, which is probably, I'd say, the highest level you can get at kickboxing. I'm not 100% sure. I should probably know that, but I don't. Obviously, a lot of great kickboxers come from there, and he's another one of them. And to get that early finish after, I think he's had a decent run in the UFC. He's had a few unlucky fights. I think he's had a few that should have went his way. Obviously, his last one, no, his last one, the one against Khalil Roundtree, sorry, that one, in my opinion, should have went his way. His last fight was very close. Um, But yeah, great performance from him. I mean, he's got to be getting a ranked opponent soon. There's a lot of great fights in that. Like, I think it's light heavyweight division that you can do for him. So yeah, so getting into the next fight, obviously it was I think Tatiana Suarez's second return fight after the big injury, and yeah, her second fight since 2019, and it was a great performance against a two-time champion in Jessica Andrade. Just showing how class she is at wrestling. I think she was on track to get in the Olympic squad, so that just shows her wrestling caliber. What did you think of her performance against such a high level opponent like Jessica Andrade?
I mean, it's really impressive. Andrade is an opponent which you're going to have a hard time with on the feet.
Hmm.
And I feel like Andrade, you look at on the feet, she's just so effective in what she does. She's
Powerhouse, yeah.
powerful, like getting hit by that in a shortweight
Mm,
isn't going to be nice
no.
whatsoever. I thought she looked good on the feet, but that wrestling was just very, very high level. Enjoys her. She's a big opponent.
I think with Tatiana Suarez, we've got real potential here in having, especially since Shevchenko just lost her title, Nunes is now retired. We're looking kind of for that next big female star. Obviously, we have Weili Zhang, who looks like she could dominate at strawweight, but having Tatiana Suarez, I think she might have fought two or three different weight classes just inside the UFC. So having a woman of her caliber who can go between these weight classes at such a high level and take out people like Jessica Andrade with relative ease just shows how skillful she is. And I think she could sort of claim the throne as the next sort of big woman star coming out of the UFC. What do you think her chances are of really getting up there, winning the belt, maybe even becoming double champ? Some people are saying. Do you think that's a real possibility for her?
I think it's definitely a possibility. She has that wrestling, just that aggression really,
Mm,
which I think does do very well in these female divisions. I think it's a possibility. It's a very, very competitive,
yeah.
and it's very hard because once you get to that top five,
Mm.
you're fighting very tough opponents. The further down the rankings you go, it's not always
She already
that
has
level.
wins over Carla Esparza, Alexa Grasso, and now Jessica Andrade, which is crazy to think about. Alexa Grasso obviously getting the big upset, beating Shevchenko, winning the belt in her last fight. Carla Esparza beating Rose, winning the belt. I think she won the belt, or that might be. Yeah, won the belt against Rose, and then obviously lost the belt after. But that's three former champions at such an early stage in her MMA career. I think the roof is, yeah, what's the saying? Like, she can go anywhere she wants in this sport.
It's interesting to note as well. She's only got two decisions.
Yeah,
She
a
done
finisher.
yeah, literally like knocking out TKOs, submissions, a
Mm,
lot of submissions. I think it's definitely a possibility. It's something to definitely look out for. And as you said, she fights in these different divisions,
mm,
so to see double champ would be amazing.
yeah,
I think it would be very, very interesting. I think she could do it.
I think she could.
She's still quite inexperienced, but the way she is on a tear at the moment,
I think she did look a bit nervous on the feet against Andrade. Andrade pressuring heavy in the first round. When she's not able to get the takedown straight away against these elite fighters, it will be interesting to see how it fares.
oh yeah, definitely so, definitely so. I mean, with a drive though, I don't think you can be too cautious
Mm,
because there aren't many women in these divisions who are finishing
yeah,
like these
no,
two are.
no.
And when when it's a situation like that, Andrade is such a difficult opponent.
Mm,
The level in which Andrade fights out on the feet, just the kickboxing, it's elite.
yeah.
It really is, and it's not something you can take for granted. You got to be cautious. I think that on the ground she's so good,
Mm.
and I think that she's gonna have that over a lot of these top fighters who are very much striker
She's
orientated.
probably the best grappler in women's MMA right now, I'd say.
And I think that's what's gonna get her to the top,
Yeah.
the grappling, because it's not something which you see too much. A lot of these girls are very, very strong at knocking out their opponents
Mm.
or finishing their opponents or damaging them so much. There's not always this grappler, which, and you look at a lot of these top fighters, we look at the past champions,
Yeah.
they're all top strikers.
Mm.
Maybe you need a grappler.
Yeah, I mean
It's more than a grappler though, but
Rose was able to take down Weili and win that rematch against Weili Zhang. Obviously a very close fight, but I'd say Rose did win it with that takedown and managed to control it the whole time in round five. So when you have someone like Tatiana Suarez who lands vicious ground and pound and looks for submissions as well. I think any woman in that weight class will not be wanting that fight anytime soon. So she has done herself lots of favours here. I wouldn't be surprised if she has a title fight by this time next year. I honestly do think
if you
that.
can pull off those submissions, you're up there.
Yeah, definitely. And going on to the main event, uh, a bit of a disappointing one to be honest. Look on paper, looked like a banger matchup. Rob Font, obviously with the amazing performance last time out against the up and comer Adrian Yanez and Corey Sanhagen. We all know what Corey brings to the table every time he fights. He brings most of the time electrifying knockouts and performances, but this time it was a little different. He obviously chose to wrestle a bit more against Chito Vera, and now in this one went he went full wrestler mode. How shocked were you by just the mass takedowns and just the control time in general? I think he had 7 out of 7 takedowns. I'm not sure on the control time. I'll try to find it, but it's crazy.
It's going to be very, very high because a lot of that fight did take place on the ground. Overall, you can't knock the performance. If that's what it takes to win the fight, that's what it takes. And I feel like he wanted to show off his wrestling ability. It's to an extent, it's not the most entertaining to watch.
No.
And the reason I say that is because when there's a lot going on the ground, a lot of good transitions, it can be very exciting. But there wasn't a lot of this at all. It was just very, very dominant on top the entire time.
20 minutes control time he had.
20 minutes control time.
Out of a 25-minute fight.
And that says it all really. And not only that, these two fighters are so good on the feet.
Yeah.
You know, a card like this is a card dominated by grappling.
It was, wasn't it? It was crazy.
And it's good to see because it was almost all very, very high level grappling. And you can't say this isn't high level grappling because it was high level grappling. But it wasn't very exciting.
No, I think Dana even got up and left during the 5th round, just in which you don't see him do much.
It's one of those things. It's only disappointing in the sense that it could have been so much more exciting, so much more entertaining, and it's a shame really because Sanhagen on the feet.
Yeah, some of the knockouts
and
he's
Font
had
as well.
Yeah, Font's boxing is just some of the most crisp boxing you'll see in MMA.
This could have been a very, very exciting, I could say potentially contagious war.
I do think as well that interestingly, I think Rob Font tore his bicep in the first. Corey Sanhagen tore his bicep in the first round, and people can complain at the performance all they want, but he won by 50-45, all 5 rounds 10-9. To do that with such a bad injury like a torn bicep just shows how elite he is. I do think there's little things he does that I'm worried about when he is fighting the better grapplers like Dashvili and Aljamain Sterling. Even I know it sounds a bit crazy, but even people like Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley, like he gave up his back against Rob Font in the first round. He gave up his back against TJ Dillashaw. Gave up his back against Aljamain Sterling and got submitted by it. So people who haven't been wrestling that long have that tendency just to try and get up and then give up their back a lot. So fighting people who we have seen with good ground game, obviously Peter Yan's shown to be a good wrestler. I think Sean O'Malley's jiu-jitsu is going to surprise a lot of people. Obviously he's got an upcoming fight against Aljamain Sterling, so he will have a chance to show it off there. But yeah, to do that to such a elite guy like Rob Font was so impressive.
It's one of those things you can't knock it to, but to fight like that with an injury as well. I don't know whether fighting McGround would have been more beneficial to him to his injury. Not as and that sounds strange, but
I mean, I guess
a bit more tolerable maybe.
Yeah, I guess when he found comfort in it, that's just what he decided to go to.
I suppose if you're extending it a lot as well,
Yeah.
when standing up, maybe that's what you want to do in that situation. But I do definitely get where you're coming from with the concern. It's the ground is a very dangerous place to be. At the end of the day, if you're not 100% on the ground, or even if you are, we see people like Kiez get submitted, and not to say like Kiez is supposed to be unsubmittable, but
he's definitely been submitted
quite a few
but
times.
He's elite. He's very good on the ground.
But yeah, and that's the thing. It's a risky place to be, and if you have any concerns about your opponent on the ground, maybe going to the ground isn't always the best thing. It worked very well for him, but it was definitely a risky move. saying that he was just so dominant,
Yeah.
and you can tell that his wrestling is just getting progressively better and better and better.
Mm.
I don't want to see him just become a wrestler.
No, I don't think he will. But
Neither do I,
there is a
but
little worry. Like what?
it does happen though.
Yeah,
It
it
does
does.
happen.
We've seen it happen a
On
lot.
Holly Home.
Yeah, that is a crazy one, to be fair.
Overall, you can't knock his performance. It's a shame because you want to see a bit more from these fighters. As in, you want not as in more as in what they are capable of, but what they do, because we know what they're capable of.
Mm.
We know very well what they're capable of. But you want to see something a bit more exciting and a card which was dominated by grappling.
Mm.
After a certain point, when you're up until 5 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean,
It makes that that last 25 minutes drag a bit longer, but
they don't
it's a
fight
very
first, do
impressive
they?
fight
Though?
though.
Yeah, it was about. I mean, I was falling asleep during it. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, very impressive performance. I think he might miss on the opportunity to get the next title shot now. I think if he went out there and landed a big flying knee or a spinning kick like we've seen him do, then I think he would have been next in line. But I mean, Dana did praise him even though he walked out. I'm pretty sure he called him a stud when he found out he had the injury, and so yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Corey Sandhagen goes for here. We're going to talk about just a few fights on the next card as well. Obviously, we've missed a lot. Well, we haven't missed a lot podcast wise, but we missed a lot because we missed that one big card. But we're going to just touch briefly on this up and coming card. We got a few good fights we want to just break down. Obviously, RDA against Vincent and Luque is a banging main event, but we're going to jump in. We're going to jump in at the Khalil Roundtree fight. Oh, he's fighting Chris Dacus coming down from heavyweight after a few knockout late losses, let's just say that. How do you think he'll, not just against Khalil Roundtree, how big do you think this could be for his career, even managing to stay in the UFC, going down to light heavyweight, because he is naturally a much smaller guy?
It's really interesting. I feel like looking at him, he does look a lot more like a light heavyweight, but he does a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And if you look at him in heavyweight, the opponents he's been fighting, like the likes of the Rosenstreaks,
Darren Lewis.
Curtis Blades.
Yeah.
These are tough opponents. Out of the three of which, the one which might be somewhat slightly easier and
Safer, maybe.
Safer,
Yeah.
which you couldn't even call it that really, would have
No.
been Curtis Blades, and that ended pretty quickly. These heavyweights hit so hard.
Mm.
And the size contrast between him and these heavyweights, I mean, look,
Him and Derek Lewis next to each other just looks crazy. Like they thought.
Rosenstreak was towering over him.
Curtis Blades is massive as well.
These are all really big people, and I know he's I don't feel like he's the tallest either.
No.
He's one of those bulkier heavyweights, not necessarily as in the pure mass, but more of the side. He's a bit more stocky.
He looks like he was quite overweight once and lost a lot of weight. Like he has that sort of look about him. I don't know if that's flex or not.
That build does work sometimes.
Yeah.
You look at DC.
Yeah, I mean he did. I mean when he started, he was on fire, and that's why I think he got pushed too early. And once your chin gets connected with a heavyweight, it can keep happening, and that is what happened. But going into this fight, he's fighting another absolute killer who is going to try and take his head clean off. We have Khalil Roundtree. How do you think this fight plays out stylistically, and how do you think Khalil Roundtree will go for this fight?
So watching Roundtree is he's a very interesting fighter. He's more technical than people think.
Yeah.
And although he does throw a lot of hooks, a lot of uppercuts, they're all very technical, bear in mind. And those leg kicks as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. My main concern with Roundtree is for Chris' sake, is looking at how Roundtree fights. This isn't necessarily, in my opinion, the light heavyweight matchup which Chris needs.
No.
Because these fighters he's fighting against at the heavyweight division, these are all fighters who very much will just charge at you and throw bombs at you, and these are the heavy hitters he's fighting. And now he's gone down to light heavyweight to Roundtree, who is the way he throws is it's mental really.
Like took money from him.
And it's one of those things, like looking at Roundtree as well. He doesn't. If you hit him, he doesn't always back up. A lot of the time, he just starts swinging.
Yeah. It's a dangerous man's corner, isn't it?
And this is the thing. And looking at Chris, his boxing is very good. It's very high level, but I don't think it's going to be fast enough to evade Roundtree, because the moment Roundtree starts getting hit, I don't know too much about the power, Chris. I'm sure that it's immensely
I mean, he
powerful.
was knocking out heavyweights.
Well,
Well, maybe not knocking out heavyweights. He had knocked out heavyweights.
but I like heavyweight.
Yeah, I
It,
mean, Roundtree, he is a bit chinny. We've seen him rocked a lot, to say the least. So, I mean, maybe if he can connect with Roundtree, that's a way to victory. I think if he needs to stay tight, he's going to take a lot of leg kicks and a lot of damage if he does find that knockout.
you see, my concern with Roundtree is staying tight. What Roundtree will do when they're staying tight
Mm,
is what could potentially put Chris out.
yeah,
Because if he's getting in tight, because he's not going to have the reach.
yeah,
He's not going to be able to shot from distance. Those leg kicks will stop any kind of distance management on his behalf anyway
mm,
happening. Getting close to Roundtree, it could potentially result in him being finished.
yeah. No, I don't think he should do that. I meant tight as in like his guard needs to be tight. He
Oh
needs,
yeah,
like
definitely.
defensively, he just needs to be tight. Like
It's very,
he's
very
going to
solid.
take lots of leg kicks, but he's got to cover up to the body and the head and not eat those big shots. I don't think it'd be smart for him to get in close, but I mean, distance-wise, I think Roundtree will control the distance as well. He does not take a step back, and he's going to pressure Dacus against the fence, land those brutal leg kicks. And personally, I see him getting a first round TKO. That's what I'm going for.
I think it could be very similar. I'd be interested to see if Chris could finish him though.
Yeah, I mean, he could. I mean,
And this is the thing. What do you think about on the ground? Because I know that Chris is
yeah,
he has a mean takedown.
yeah, I mean, I think both the Dacus brothers do have good jiu-jitsu. Khalil Roundtree is not good on the ground, but I just don't. I can't see Chris getting in there. I actually can't. I think, um, obviously fighting these heavyweights, he had a big speed advantage, but fighting Roundtree, who's that explosive and that quick, it's going to be so hard to take him down. If he survives the first round, the fight can go anyway, but that's a big task against Roundtree, especially
Mm.
coming off so many knockout losses to such heavy hitters.
Can't see a single leg.
No. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried, but I think Khalil Roundtree will be fresh enough to keep him off in the first round and find those shots to finish him.
See, it's difficult really because unless he's able to get him down, I don't see what he's going to be able to necessarily do on the feet,
No.
other than potentially finish him. But saying that, that's very much the other way around. It'd be interesting to see how he performed at light heavyweight as well.
Mm. It
Uh,
could. I think that's a good move for his career,
oh
though.
yeah, definitely. I think that heavyweight division is just too big for him.
But he's also the speed that he had over those guys is not going to be there. But then, to be fair, you're looking at the top 10. You're looking at people like Paul Craig. I think Volkan Uzma is still hanging around there. Leon Blachowicz. All these people getting a bit older, so maybe you can kind of freshen up the division a little bit. We'll see. But what are you going for in this fight?
This one, I'm going to go for a round three, first round KO.
Mm,
I think TKO.
yeah,
If I'm honest with you, I think he'll get stopped before.
I think
He's out cold.
he'll just get a hit clean drop, and then the ground and pound shots will finish it.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
sorry, carry on.
Nah, I'm looking at his heavyweight bouts. For ground and pound, it's normally stopped beforehand.
Mm,
Whether to say not to comment on him as his chin individually, but I don't know how well he's going to be able to take a shot from
no,
round three.
especially after all those knockout losses.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, moving on to the next matchup, we have a legend returning, Cub Swanson. Oh, going into it, he's almost like 40 professional fights. He's been around for 2 decades now, fighting a very good up and comer, the explosive Hakeem Dawodu. How do you see this fight going? It's a dangerous one for Cub, but what do you think the experience? How do you think the experience will look? And do you think he will find ways to victory through this fight?
you see, with this fight, I feel like Cub. How old is he now? 40 plus.
Yeah, he's got to be right. 39.
39. Oh, it's not quite, but not quite. But no, I'm looking at this fighter. Dawodu is so explosive,
Yeah.
and he's so clean, and he's so accurate. And Cousins, in fairness to him, he is still very, very technical,
Mm,
but he's not as fast as Dawodu.
no.
And looking at how Dawodu fights, I think if Cub can get him to the ground, because Cub is very good on the ground,
Yeah, black belt in jiu-jitsu for years now.
I think there could be real issues for
Mm.
Dawodu. However, saying that, on the feet, this could be a very, very exciting fight.
Mm.
This could potentially be a war.
Yeah.
Now, whether to say it's going to go like that or not, I'm not entirely certain. I'm going to put out there, Iturudu. I think second round TKO.
Really?
In my opinion, I think that is just the explosion on him. He's so powerful, he's so fast. He's so. I don't know if Cub will be able to react fast enough. Not to say that he's got slow reactions or anything, but Iturudu is just that level. He's very fresh as well.
Yeah.
And he's coming into it, and it's a really interesting fight. It's a really hard one. Cub's distance management though,
Yeah, excellent.
very very good, and he's got such a wide variety of weapons on the
Oh
feet.
my word. His fight against Darren Elkins, where it was just the head movement and then the spinning kick at the end, like, looked insane. And that was only 2 fights ago now. I think he lost his last one. But yeah, his arsenal on the feet is wild.
And this is what I think potentially could cause issues for Dawodu.
Mm.
You know, these the range he can kick at
Yeah.
is so far. It's actually
Covers so much distance with those kicks.
and that could very much potentially put a bit of resistance on him. I don't know if it will keep him at bay, but it could do so. I think that's definitely gonna strike him a little bit. I think, like I said, I could see second round TKO.
Yeah.
I think Dawodu, he gets close enough. He lands his big strikes. It's going to be hard to react. Although I think if Cub takes it to the ground, I mean, we can see a submission.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Dawodu against Mizar Evelev, who's that sort of new generation of Dagestan. I don't know if he's actually Dagestani, but Russian wrestlers. And he survived 2 rounds of him, gassed him out, well, not almost finished him, but won the third and had him on the back foot. So he can grapple. He's shown excellent grappling defense, but Cub was doing jiu-jitsu when Dawodu was probably still a kid. I mean, Dawodu, I think, is 10 years younger. Cubs have been doing jiu-jitsu for so long, doing striking for so long. I think Dawodu, he can be a bit chinny at times. Maybe I think so you can find shots through his guard that can hurt him. Yeah, he's been hurt a few times. He had in my opinion, quite a worrying performance last time out because he looked so good and honestly looked like he'd be a top contender. And then losing to Julian Erosa the way he did is not. It wasn't a good look. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. And Cub Swanson's a dangerous guy to coming off a big loss like that. Cub Swanson's not an easy fight back, and Cub with the experience, I think that he will be put in dangerous moments during this fight. But personally, I actually do think Cub's gonna sort of find his way through the storm, and I think I'm gonna go Cub Swanson decision. I think his experience, he'll clinch when he needs to, and I think he'll find those pop shots through the guard and really put Dawodu on the back foot. But you know, Dawudu's so quick, and Cub at 39 years old, coming off, I think he got finished in his last fight. I think he got dropped a few times actually. To be fair, 39 years old, I'm pretty sure his last fight was quite a big loss. I'll just have a look now, but that could change my opinion. To be fair, coming off a big knockout loss, yeah, Jonathan Martinez knocked him out in the second round, dropped him twice. But I'm gonna still stick with it. I'm gonna go Cub Swanson. I think he'll win by unanimous decision. That's gonna be my prediction.
I mean, it could potentially go that way. I think it's going to be a very hard fight for him. Carl Swanson is so impressive what he's done, and to have stayed at the level he has. Really, he's been very very consistent. He's winning. I'd say more fights than he's losing. You know, obviously he's got the occasional loss here and there, but for the most part, he's doing very well. He's not fighting low level fighters.
No, he's still fighting young up and comers as well.
You know, which is very very interesting. You know, so it's very impressive, and there aren't a lot of fighters who are 39, which you could say that about.
Really.
And
still fighting at a decent level, like fighting these ranked fighters. I mean, Dawodu's just outside the top 15, if I'm right. I know he was ranked not too long ago, but yeah, still so much respect for Cub, and I mean, no disrespect to Dawodu because I love watching him fight, but I really hope Cub can get the win. It would be great to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, it's something you want to see. Is he still ranked?
What, Cub's still ranked?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not too sure. I don't think he is. If I'm honest with you.
That would be crazy though.
So he's not far off of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's beaten like people like Darren Elkins and stuff who would be just outside those rankings. So yeah. Getting on to the main event, I think we've got an absolute banger here. We have RDA, an absolute legend of the sport, coming back. He had a bit of a rough performance last time out, but he's got a real chance to bounce back against Vicente Luque. Before we start breaking down the fight, I heard a bit of worrying news that after Vicente Luque's last knockout, he had, I think it was a brain hemorrhage or something like that, bleeding on the brain. So he couldn't be medically cleared for a year. I hope everything's safe for him to come back. Like you guess it would be. They had put those precautions in place, but this game is not very forgiving. And coming back after something like that, I mean, good luck to him. I hope to see him do well. But breaking into the fight, stylistically, how do you think this fight they play out against each other?
So it's really interesting because whenever I look at Vincent Luque, I just think tough
Mm.
nails. He's brutal on the feet. His head movement's just not there.
Nah.
And it's very frustrating actually because although he can take a shot or two, like you want to use a bit more than that,
Or
but
three or four.
yeah. I mean he's got a good guard though.
Yeah.
So
He
I
needs
mean
that.
yeah. I mean it does stop the hooks and
The
the
GF Nil fight, I think we broke that one down.
oh, okay
Uh,
yeah.
Brutal. I mean, it was
Mm,
like 5 uppercuts in a row, and that's the one that did lead to the brain injury.
yeah. That's
Which once your chin gets cracked, will it be the same again? We saw him eat massive shots and get knocked out brutally last time.
that's another thing though. It's really interesting because he's fighting for the first time
Mm,
since his injury
yeah,
to see if he's still as tough as he was because obviously it's a very very severe injury
yeah.
and you'd like to think that he's okay uh, with Vincent Luque fighting whether he is okay or not.
Hopefully.
I'm not too sure whether he just decided to go in or not, but whether he'll be as tough as he was in the sense of what he can take,
Mm,
not as in because he's always gonna be tough. He's always
yeah,
gonna be a warrior, but to see if he can take the punishment he has, because RDA is a dangerous opponent.
yeah. He's still such a beast.
And Luke, he can take a good few shots, but RDA, the way he strikes, he's got his kicks,
Mm,
the range he can throw his kicks at. If you're not able to get close to him, if he's controlling you at range all the
oh
time,
yeah.
you can be in very severe danger because he doesn't telegraph it either.
Mm-mm. He throws it out, doesn't
And that's the thing, and he doesn't really telegraph anything at all.
he?
But you'll
Just
see him shoot
throws.
every so often.
Yeah, yeah. I think that might be more of a route it goes down. I think the fight will be on the feet, but I think he will wrestle a bit in this one too.
And it'd be interesting. Luke is not actually too bad on the ground.
Yeah, he's got good jiu-jitsu.
Like it's not something you see because he is just very very good at boxing.
War mode.
And his leg kicks as well.
Yeah, just Muay Thai is just so
Yeah.
crisp, innit?
You don't want to get hit by
No.
any of it really. But stylistically playing it out, I'd like to think it's going to be a war
Mm.
because this could be a war, and watching these two go at it would be very exciting. RDA, I think he's not going to engage in it too much.
I agree.
I think he's going to
He's
be
smart,
a bit.
isn't
He's very smart. He doesn't need to fight like that,
he? No.
so he's not going to.
He's-
And I haven't really thought about the RDA shooting too much, but now that you said that, it's kind of it's kind of made me think.
Yeah. Luque has shown weakness to wrestling in the past. Bilal Muhammad dominated in the wrestling. Obviously, RDA, I feel like, has struggled quite a lot when he has made this move up to welterweight. But he has big wins over Kevin Lee at welterweight, a few others as well. So he does still show his grappling is there, but maybe he struggles to wrestle more at this weight. Do you think that will play a part? Because Luque's a proper welterweight.
He's big. He's
Yeah,
stocky. He's
stacked guy.
I'm not too sure because it's going up a weight, but whether or not the impact that will have on him with his level of wrestling and with Luque's, I don't want to say holds,
Mm.
but with his wrestling takedown defense, I don't think it will have too much of an impact. If I'm honest with you, whether or not the momentum will actually help him.
I think Luque will be dangerous enough to keep getting up. I don't think RDA will hold him down and keep
No.
him down.
No, it's hard to hold someone like Luque down
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, Bilal Muhammad is a different. I mean, he's not a different beast to RDA because RDA is a different beast to Bilal Muhammad. But in wrestling senses, Bilal Muhammad seems to have weird strength. It's like it's not the same fight in RDA and Bilal Muhammad.
Do you think this will be easier for him on the feet though, now that he's gone up?
Yeah, I think a lightweight. There's just so many killers in that top five.
Yeah.
And RDA was really close to getting a big fight. I think there was talks of a Justin Gaethje fight, but he took the Rafael fight instead and looked very good. Went 5 rounds with such a killer, but got finished in the fifth. Moving up a weight class, the weight cut's easier. He's an older guy, but still at his skill, he can jump between these two weight classes and always stay around the top five. He's that good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one, really. I think. Do you see Luque getting finished again?
RDA is not a big finisher,
No, he's
but
not worthy.
I just really have a feeling Luke's chin's going to be gone. I do.
Yeah,
And I don't want to say that because I love watching Luke fight, how many amazing fights he's brought to the octagon. But just that fight was brutal with Jeff Neal.
it's
It was
it,
brutal.
it's the thing that it's hard because you can't really comment on your chin until you watch his fight.
Yeah. I mean, we all thought the same about Dan Hooker. And look at that fight with Jalen
Mm,
Turner.
yeah,
Eating
yeah.
head kicks, chin, with his chin, just crazy. So you never know. Obviously, Glover Teixeira got knocked out loads when he was in his younger years, come back and his chin looked unbreakable, just eating shots for fun. So Luke's chin, if it stays intact, I still, in my opinion, if his chin's there and everything's good, I think RDA decision. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a RDA decision. I think it'll be a very good fight, competitive, but I think he'll just edge out most of the rounds.
It's a hard one, really. I'm gonna go with Luque. I think he's gonna finish him.
I mean, I wouldn't love that, but I'd love for Luke to get a win after that. I
But
would.
I think he's gonna be able to break through,
Mm.
and I think that's what he's gonna need to do against somebody like RDA because RDA is gonna be managing that distance the whole
I
time.
mean, RDA, I think before his last fight, the last time he got finished with Jeremy Stevens back in like the earlier UFC days, but then at this age getting finished at lightweight, then jumping up in another weight class, fighting Luke who's knocked so many big welterweights out, like Carl Robertson and people like this. So yeah, I would not be surprised if Luke lands that left hook and drops him. I would be very surprised if he knocks him out cold, but I could see a TKO. So yeah, final prediction.
Third round TKO.
Nice. We got we got a little bit of news to go into. A few things have been happening this week. Uh, so obviously Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler have been talking. Looks like that fight might not be happening. Surprise, surprise. It looks like they might go with the Justin Gaethje fight instead. That's what Conor and Gaethje are both pointing out on Twitter. Um, do you think that's doing Chandler a bit hard done by? But what matchup would you be more excited for personally?
I think Chandler. If
You
I'm honest,
Chandler
yeah.
McGregor. Do you think it'd
But
be more competitive?
I think it would be. I don't think that throwing McGregor against Gaethje is a
It's like trying to kill him, isn't it? It
yeah.
seems
It's not really a fair bout. Although saying that, he's had a lot of time to recover and he's recovered.
in various different ways.
He's recovered like double well.
Yeah,
You
let's
know.
just say that.
So but yeah, no. Although saying that he's not been cutting weight or anything. So
Mm,
say what you want. But no, I think that with Gaethje, it doesn't make a lot of sense in my opinion
no,
for
me neither.
McGregor to fight him. I think Chandler is still a very very high level opponent.
I
I think that even that in itself it
it's a
makes
dangerous
sense,
one.
but it's very dangerous for McGregor.
Mm,
It makes sense from a UFC perspective,
yeah.
and I think that with Gaethje, obviously it'd be great to see McGregor back at what he was doing because you got to think like how he revolutionized the sport
Mm,
initially.
yeah.
To see him in pre-fight, just everything to do with McGregor, that would make a lot of sense from like a financial
Yeah, yeah.
perspective.
Him and Gaethje sells so well. I mean, him and Chandler, him and anyone sells so well. They could fight my mum and do a mill pay-per-views, but I mean, him and Gaethje is just a vibe. I mean, I'm saying this, but Chandler brings everything to the table, but maybe is a bit easier to find that shot on. So UFC, I think would be, I think the smarter move is the Chandler one, just because I can see more of a way of McGregor to win. But Chandler, I mean Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje is an electrifying fight.
It is. It is. I don't know if Conor would be able to bring it like he has to.
No, no,
Or maybe
I
be
don't
able to
think
bring it
so.
even better. But no, I think that looking at the Chandler fight, it makes more sense. I still think it's an incredibly dangerous opponent for McGregor. No
Mm,
disrespect to him, but if you look at how consistently he's been fighting, to be fighting a top contender like Chandler,
mm,
I don't know if it's the best fight for his interest.
Yeah,
Obviously, like you said, it's gonna be a big money fight altogether. Him and Gaethje
yeah,
would be phenomenal, especially with how Gaethje is at the moment, with his just general presence. But looking at, especially with the Ultimate Fighter as well,
mm.
it does make a lot of sense for him to fight
Yeah,
Chandler.
it'd be just weird if they don't make that fight now, I think.
Yeah, there's no reason not to, though.
No,
And with Chandler, his athleticism, how that'll play into it. Now that Connor's all healed up, he might be in just as good condition.
maybe. I mean,
If not potentially better. He's looking big at the moment. He's looking strong. He's not having to worry about cutting weight or
just the training
anything like
worries
that.
me, man. Like everything I see of him, he's got bloody whiskey in his hand and spliffs in his mouth, and it's just like, oh god. I think Chandler, like, if he needs to seriously put some work in to beat Chandler or Gaethje, I think.
What's your favourite fight out of the two? You say Chandler, right?
Ah, yeah. Thing is, when I close my eyes and I think of those two fights, they both go the same way, really.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think Conor gets caught early. But Conor for the first round is still, to be fair, Conor could beat either of them. There's still a possibility where Gaethje walks into a straight left, gets wobbled and finished off, and Chandler could bloody jump into a straight left and get knocked out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they both still take a lot of risks. I think Chandler takes way more risks, and that's better for McGregor, and that's better for the fan, because I feel like the fans can get more excited for that, because I feel like it will be sold as more of a competitive fight. I mean, Dustin Poirier just smoked Conor McGregor, and look what Justin Gaethje just did to Dustin. So
Yeah.
I think that sells better than Conor Chandler one.
What do you think would be the ideal matchup for Conor? Not talking about money or not talking about the hype, just the general skill based ideal matchup, level wise. Where do you think he's at? Or where do you think he would be at?
So take out the name and everything. I think if Conor McGregor was a different fighter now coming back after being a double champ and losing quite a lot. I mean, I know it sounds a bit crazy, but any other fighter would be coming back for a Tony Ferguson fight now, or a Bobby Green
Okay.
fight now, or maybe even like a who's on a good run, sort of maybe like a Dan Hooker or someone like that, lightweight. Like, he should not be coming back and fighting Chandler and Gaethje, in my opinion. But it's Conor. He will always chase that challenge. What do you think? Lightweights? I mean, I think
I think
Bobby Green would have been a good shout.
I think of Fiziev.
Yeah,
I like the idea of a Gamrot or a Takarian,
but the
just because I think that he's
wrestling,
gonna really struggle. But I think that makes a lot. It's
they deserve that
They
sort of
deserve
fight.
it.
Yeah,
They need that because
I
that's
like
going
a
to be a
perceived
fight.
fight. I
But I think
really
the
like
physique
that
makes the
fight.
most sense
Yeah,
because I think like Gamrot and Security is going to be so hard to.
I think Bobby Green's a bit too low, to be fair.
I wouldn't put Bobby
No,
Green there personally. I mean, he's not ranked. He's not anywhere
no.
near that really. I mean, he's a good fight, like, and stylistically
I
it makes a
think
lot of sense. But I think the
Connor.
ability level, the gap just isn't
Yeah,
there.
no, Bobby Green was a bit of a crazy one, actually, and so was Tony Ferguson. I take it back. I agree with you. I think for Zeev,
I think Fizie's the best one. Gamrot and Security, I think he's struggled
yeah.
against.
I mean, Drew Dober just lost, didn't he? That would have been a good one if he beat Favola.
Mm.
But yeah, I think for Zeev would be a great matchup. I think Chandler, to be fair, is actually a good matchup as well.
You know,
Like, if Connor loses, it's because he hasn't put in the work and he's let himself fall off over the last few years. It's not because Chandler's a way better fighter than him, is it?
no, definitely
Mm.
not. It's one of those things like he's had a lot of time off. Some of it you can't help if you're injured, but prior to that, there's stuff you do during your training camps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very stacked division. I think that anyone in the top five, Darius is a very hard fight.
Dariush McGregor, that'd be good.
It would be, but stylistically again,
Yeah, not
I don't know
great.
if that's the
None of
first
them are
fight you want to
great.
go back to.
Look at all the top 10. They all match up bad with Conor McGregor.
But an RDA though,
RDA Conor McGregor's a banger.
I
That would
think
be a
I
good
think
one.
Battle Fiziev.
Yeah. I think
It,
RDA would be a better one than Fiziev. Because Fiziev, he's just an elite striker in his prime. Do you know what I mean? But
mm,
like that's a great matchup still, him and Conor McGregor. But RDA, they've got history as well. They were meant to fight. There's a lot of footage of them beefing backstage.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that's basically what we've got to talk about today. Make sure you like the podcast, share it around with your friends so we can grow it and make it on a bigger scale. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Combat Chatters Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for listening.